Well, it's good to have somebody like you around.
All right, everybody, can y'all hear me out there? We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order, a little past 6. First off, everybody will check your phone, make sure it's on silent or turned off, please. And then I'm going to stand up, do the Pledge of Allegiance, and say a little prayer, and then we'll get started with the meeting. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lord, thank you so much for bringing us here safe tonight. Please be with us as we do the county's business. Pour your blessings out upon us. Thank you so much for your grace. Please help us to get home safe and be with us always. In your name we pray. Amen. All right. So the first thing we have on the report is the chairman's report. The chairman is back with an injury, or out with an injury, back with an injury. There we go. And so I'm the vice chair, so I'm conducting the meeting tonight. Under chairman's report tonight, we only have one issue that he was wanting me to bring up. Adam Spears' position with the extension office. The position is in the process of being filled, but we need to have some business here that we need to attend to. The lady that's coming in has asked for a raise, a pretty significant raise. The university thinks in their best interest and ours that they give it to them, so they've put up, she's asked for $14,000 raise. They're putting up $11,000 of that out of the university. So between us and the BOE, we would have to cover the other $3,000 of that. So it would be obviously $1,500 for us. Tonight, under urgent matters, if you guys want to make a motion to put that on the agenda under urgent matters, because it is a time-sensitive issue, we can do that. We have to have unanimous consent. Once we get into that, then we can vote yea or nay to approve that going forward. We'll still have BOE. Hopefully, we'll do that tomorrow night. Thank you. So, if we can, on number 7, if we can address that, we would appreciate it. I'm going to move on to hearing and actions on zoning matters. Ms. Linda, you'll take it from here.
Jay didn't make it.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
He's got a lot of vision.
He is. Well, Jay, you wanna do this?
Go right ahead.
Okay, this is, the final plat for Candace Springs. This is located over on the Colbert, Diamond Hill Road, right outside the city limits of Colbert. Everything does meet all the zoning, requirements. And you'll notice this is below the 1.5 acres. This was done prior to, that, change by the board. So he does meet all the requirements, for it. I've looked over it completely, so if y'all have any questions, you can ask me.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Linda? Go ahead, Derek.
Ms. Lynn, looking at the plat, I have a couple of questions coming out. I guess the first question I've got is on lot 17, there's a adjoining, I say adjoining, there's an existing driveway that's serving that property.
Yes.
Is lot 17, or I'll say this, my preference is, and I don't believe I saw it on here, that lots 1, 16, and 17 have no access to Diamond Hill Colbert Road. They should either access it through the new roadway. And it looks like there's a joint effort there to have that property serving the 17 and the existing served by that existing driveway.
Okay, that drive, are you talking about the drive that's behind 17?
Well, it splits the property line in the back, so.
Okay, that is a property that is not part of the subdivision.
But the way the property line is drawn, they would have access to that driveway. Is that the intent? I would think so, because you wouldn't, otherwise you would move the property line.
Lot 17 having access to that drive?
Look at the back of lot 17.
Yes, that drive, the little perforated line, that is an existing drive that goes to that lot that's not part of, this subdivision. Lot 17 has road frontage. They will not be using that drive.
So what's gonna stop them from using the drive?
Because that is not their property.
Will be when this plat's approved. They'll have access to it.
No, that, the parcel behind lot 17 has that, where that comes down to meet the road, that's part of that, that's a flag lot.
And I'm understanding that, but the way 17's property lines are drawn, it runs to the center line of that driveway in a certain spot, and it cuts the corner off of it.
Oh, you talking about to the back of it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yes, and, of which that would, and Jay might can answer this more, to how it really is, but when I see this on a plat, that's letting me know that that is existing, and that person that's behind there, whoever lives back there, would have, that's considered, they would have an easement through that corner of lot 17.
Right, so 17 would have access to that driveway, even though they have road frontage, which I would like to preserve.
No, because the road where it comes off, that's not part, so they can't use that. They've got to do their own driveway.
Ms. Linda, I think, Jay, you wanna?
She said it exactly right. Is Mr. Fortson, who owns that property, is aware that he has to move his driveway off our property. And he does not have access to go through lot 17 once this plat is approved.
So is that a condition of this plat that's not shown?
I mean, it's not a condition. He does not have authority to go over my property. And he knows that, and I've already told him that. As soon as we start building there, that property line's gonna be lined off so he can't use that driveway anymore,
To the back of the property.
to the back of the property.
Okay. So lot 17 will have road frontage to Diamond Hill, and is 1 and 16 will access off the new roadway.
Correct.
All right, so I
Yes.
think the plat should be revised to include that 1 and 16 driveway is required to come off that new road and not to Culver Downs Road.
And that's how subdivisions are. They come off of the subdivision road.
But this plat, when it's approved, that there's no documentation on this plat that has a limit access on it, unless it's in our zoning ordinance or somewhere else that I'm
And we
still
can-
learning.
We
I mean,
can
don't
have,
get me
we
wrong.
can have that statement added to this if you would like.
We just don't need a bunch of driveways, right?
Yeah, and they won't be,
Okay.
yeah.
But lot 17 will access the road.
Lot 17 has to access it because it doesn't have access onto the road that goes, Faith Lane that goes through the subdivision.
In the agreement that we agreed on through the attorneys when the lawsuit was filed, in that, we had wrote up that y'all signed, that I signed, that says there can only be one lot in the subdivision that can access Diamond Hill Road,
Okay.
and that would be lot 17. Therefore, we did not feel anything else needed to be written because it's already documented that that's the only lot that could be done like that.
And that,
Yeah, and I'm sorry.
no, and that's fine, but that does raise a question to our attorney.
This is the,
Mr. Attorney,
where we had to go
Is the
back.
county a party to this lawsuit?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, this
Each
is,
of us were.
Oh, this, I'm back, I'm with you now, okay. I'm
With
you now.
Victor,
Yeah,
and when we
so,
figured this out,
yeah, Commissioner Doster's right, though, people buying, lots aren't necessarily gonna have notice of what's in civil action, so we probably ought to add note. And that would be easy enough to put notes on the plat to say, lots 1 and 16 can only access Faith Lane, and that the easement to the Fortson property is an exclusive easement to the Fortson, meaning lot 17 cannot use it.
you get that?
Yeah, because they would have to have permission
we're
from
not giving an
Fortson.
easement.
Oh, you're not giving it?
We're not
No.
giving an easement.
Stretches the road.
It just is labeled on that plat so that I could show Mr. Fortson how his property went on my property.
Well, I
So he
noticed there's
understands he
nothing,
has
there's
to
no
move it.
notation about that, what that perforated line means at all that I could find. Did you see anything?
I didn't, I mean, I did assume that it was an existing driveway. What I'm trying to make sure is,
He's
again,
encroaching on this property.
yeah.
And I had to do that so that I could show him so that he can.
Okay.
What I'm trying to make sure is there's full expectation when somebody or another surveyor picks it up, they're not gonna have immediate knowledge, that property owner, going back to the lawsuit, whatnot, even though that's in a lawsuit or an agreement between us and you.
Right, it was in the
When that-
final order.
Yeah, but when that property is sold outright as an individual lot, I don't know if there's attachment to it or not. I mean, I'm just trying to make it
So the fix
more
with this,
clear.
so the fix with this, Mike, would be, we would add that to this plat in our motion.
Yeah, so the motion would be to approve the plat on condition the notation be added to it of these provisions. And you surveyor could add that easily.
And the provisions are lot number 1 and lot number 16 will be accessed by Faith Lane. And lot number 17, what do you
Access.
want to say about that?
I never quite followed it. What are we saying about lot
So, well, there's no
They've
easement across.
they've answered your question.
It can be accessed through Culver's Diamond Hill Road.
Okay,
Or will be.
Or will be, yeah, not it can be, it will be.
okay.
Good conversation. Anybody else? Any more questions?
The other question I do have is, are the declarations of protected covenants an attachment to the final plat, therefore, we have the ability to comment on, or is that something that's just outside the final plat?
I
We have
just
no
put them
action?
along with everything, so that y'all would be aware that they are coming, and that's, I can't file them yet, because we don't have plat book page numbers and all that sort of stuff, but that's what we're gonna do once. I just gave, honestly, the covenant I gave you are the last subdivision I did, and I'm pretty much gonna, Victor made those for us, and we're pretty much gonna go by. We just gotta change the few things in it that go to this property that we agreed on, you know, which I already changed in there. That were the square foot sizes of the homes, roof pitches, you know, all that sort of stuff. That's in those covenants, and that's why I went ahead and gave them to you, so y'all would see that all that's been done.
But we do not enforce restrictions or covenants. It's zoning only.
I just sent them for
And that's fine, I mean, I read them, I had some comments, but if this board doesn't take any action on them, then that's,
And this was approved by the planning and zoning board 7-0.
Awesome. Anybody else have any questions? We'll let them say. No? All right, thank you guys, appreciate it. All right, since this is a final plat, we'll basically just looking for a motion.
Correct.
See if I can make it easy. Look for a motion to approve final plat with additions. That's lot 1 and 16 will be accessed from Faith Lane, and lot 17 will be accessed from Diamond Hill Road. Look for a motion.
so move.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. I'll go first. Yes?
Yes.
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 All right, go on to statements and remarks from citizens on any agenda items. We've got the Board of Election Registration 2020 requirements, and discuss changing Clerk Wooten's position title to County Clerk / Administrator. Anybody have anything they would like to remark, say, throw in the hat?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sure.
Sometimes y'all do comments before and after, so we kind of know what we're commenting on.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that possible?
Actually,
We have to do it
the
now.
first meeting of the month,
Yeah,
when we're discussing this stuff,
yeah,
we only have statements and remarks about the agenda items. And then at the end of the month, you could, it's before and after. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So tonight is just if you have any remarks on those agenda items.
okay.
Just state your name and address for this one.
Chip Chandler, Carlton, First Street. It's the same thing, when y'all were doing your budget hearing, I think, I came up and there wasn't really anybody else here to talk, so we talked a little bit about polling places, and we talked a little bit about EMS. And I guess my comment is that since my wife's a would-be poll worker, except that she fractured her leg, and so she couldn't stay 14 hours, which is what it takes each poll worker every time they have elections. I have a little sympathy for that, but my concern is always that we make it easier for people to vote, and we don't, you know, inadvertently cast anybody out. This county, I think, has a really good reputation for everybody wants people to vote. There's no crazy stuff going on with, you know, lines or gerrymandering. I mean, there's been some odd districts in Madison County, but I don't think it was for a specific reason to exclude somebody from a vote unless it's me. But, that's a joke. But I would like you to think about, I guess, the poorer people in the county, and if we do ever get to this point of reducing the number of polling places, I have neighbors that actually have to pay somebody to carry them places to the store and stuff. And usually it's about $10. That's the kind of going rate. So I'm afraid that if let's just say Carlton was the leader, because we're out there in the middle of nowhere, and personally I'd like to secede from the county because we're kind of in the middle of nowhere out there, but I think secession, that was kind of worked out about 150 years ago, so I don't think I get to do it. But to go from there, even just to Comer, is going to take somebody, you know, a gallon or two of gas and some time to go. And I just wondered if we're just shifting the cost that we're trying to save for the county coffers. In other words, say if I'm just making this up, so let's just say we go from 12 polling places to 5, because I don't know how many there are off the top of my head. Are we shifting the cost to people that are going to pull out their wallet and pay for gas to go there? Whereas right now we can send registrar's deputies and the poll workers to a location, then people can come locally there, relatively local, a mile or two at most, maybe 3 miles in some cases, instead of coming 5 or 10 miles. So I'd like y'all to just think about that. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Name and address for first reading.
Diane Satterfield, 2155 on the Park Drive, Comer.
Thank you.
I thought the polling places being reduced was already settled, but in case it's not, this is not the election to make a lot of big changes. And just so that we can prevent any kind of lawsuits or confusion, along with the new machines, I think that we need to make sure that everything is done even better than usual, which we have a terrific group here in Madison County, and I don't worry about them at all. But we don't want to give any reasons for any problems. So I say, let's give all the money that we need to give, let's have all the polling places.
The decision was made.
Yeah, we'll go with that. That's
Okay,
right.
all right.
Thank you, Ms. Nancy.
What is it? What is the decision?
So does anybody else like to speak?
Lee, could you take what the decision was?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it on 4, and we'll talk about it when the agenda item comes. I just, when I run the meeting for the chairman, I try to do it as better than him. Come on up, Cody. Cody, you want to speak? We'll let
You go ahead. No, go ahead, sir.
Come on up, Canola.
Canola Scott, 30494 Fulton Mark, Shiloh Road, Gainesville, Georgia. I too am concerned about the number of polling places, but I think, from what I understand, that's already been settled. And that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I'm here to talk about is the amount of money that's going to be needed just to handle elections. If you continue with the polling place, the same number of polling places. I understand that the Board of Elections budget was cut substantially. I'm sure you had a reason for doing that, but you also gotta look back at this is the year that we're gonna get all new machines. There's a big cost to that. These machines are not like the old machines. They're gonna require some different things. That needs to be looked at. As we all know, voting machines and all those stuff have to be secured in a safe place. And they need to be very near the registrars. So I would suggest, or I'm asking you to take a good look at the budget again, because I think that maybe you cut too deep. Now, I'm not part of all of the discussion, and I'm sure that you had a reason for doing it, but I'm not sure that you took everything into consideration. So I'm here asking that you go back and take a look at everything along with the registrars and, maybe make a new decision as to the amount of money that they need. Because we don't want to disenfranchise anybody, and we don't want to mess up the voting. That's the most important thing that we do. And we definitely don't want to mess it up by cutting the cost versus, there's a lot of other things that we can cut costs. A lot of other ways that we may be able to cut costs. But anyway, please consider this.
Thank you. Anybody, Cody?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I've got two things. First of all, as far as the elections go, this board took that, was gracious enough to grant our request to take that out of the probate court several years ago. And for that, I am so thankful. I appreciate that. This is a very sensitive topic. And I'm not here to speak about that, but I will say this, after hearing what Mr. Scott just said, I do concur with what he just said. But I'm here to comment on, I believe it's agenda number 5, Ms. Wooten, and just voice my personal support for that to happen. Ms. Wooten has actually, in my opinion, been acting in that capacity for quite some time, somewhat of a liaison between the elected officials and department heads to the board. And she's always been there when we needed her, and I think that this would be justified, and I just wanted to voice my support for that agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? State your name and address for the record, please.
All right. I'm Dave Ramsey. I'm in the very hirsute, Mr. Allen's district. And I live at 1586 Roger Church Road, and my address is in Commerce. I agree with what Mrs. Satterfield said about the concerns for what might be thought about the upcoming election, because I expect that there's going to be a very heavy election in 2020. And some places in Georgia are going to have something said about them because people are going to use them for things like voter suppression and other miscues. I don't want Madison County to be on the list. And I also think that as far as the voting goes, people have a right to vote any way they wish, whether they want to stand in a machine or whether they want to vote absentee or whatever. So I know from past experience that a lot of people like to use the machine. Machines are going to be new, people are going to be curious about them. I expect maybe we'll get more people at machines because they want to use the new machines. So I'm asking you to give consideration to the board's request for the extra money they need to prepare for the election process. And to assure that everybody in the county has plenty of time to vote, has plenty of opportunity to vote, and is able to express their feelings about any candidate without having to take much of their time throughout the day away from them. Because everybody's time is precious. And I think people, if they have to think they're gonna stand in line for a long time, that's almost like voter suppression. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey. Excuse me. Anyone else?
Sylvia Lowe, and I live at 11449 Wildcat Bridge Road. And I'd be remiss, you talked about the urgent matters earlier, and this deposition, county clerk versus administrator. I don't know that salary if the job description.
Just throw out, the salary that I was discussing was not that position, it was
For
it was
the extension of.
okay, just wanna make sure we're clear, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And so I wonder if the job description is changing a lot for $14,000. And then if this, county clerk administrator's salary would be, increased. And if so, I would think that we need to look at things in perspective, giving this a lot of money and then taken away from our board of elections. I just don't see it. That's my opinion.
Anyone else?
Lisa Mathis, 267 McGinnis Chandler Road, Commerce, Madison County. I second the vote for Rondo. She's answered my stupid questions on many occasions. She deserves a raise for that. As far as the budget for the Board of Elections, I think you need to really think about that. You're gonna have to pay for it anyway. I mean, there's some things you just gotta have. And they're gonna require certain, equipment, and you're gonna have, it's not gonna be cheap. I mean, these things are not cheap and they're not expensive. They got to be stored in a climate controlled place. And, I just think that cutting that budget this year is probably not the wisest thing we could do. You probably need to just look at it again and see if there's something else we can do, another place we can shift, something that we can put off to another year, some other way to work this out so that they have what they need. I know I don't wanna read about Madison County in the paper again, and I certainly don't wanna do it. I don't wanna read about Madison County, as doing something wrong with the elections. That would not be something any of us would want. And as far as voting poll places, you know, there's lots of, we've been talking about that for years. 1 more year's not gonna make any difference. It might make a difference, as far as the, cost is concerned, but eventually, you're gonna eat that cost if it's nothing else than attorney fees. So, we have to be careful, make sure that we're not even stepping into something.
Anyone else?
Good afternoon. Dina Chandler, Carlton, Georgia. I'm just speaking in favor of Tracy Dean's elections office. She needs all the money that she can get. For this upcoming 2020 year, it's going to be a heavy turnout. I'm going to be a poll worker. I'm not really looking forward to it because I know it's going to be a heavy turnout. But I'm going to do the best I can, and one of the things that Tracy is planning, if she has the budget to do it, is to introduce everybody in the county to these new voting machines. She wants to have workshops at different polling places and give the public a chance to come in and figure out how to use the things. So this is not the year to reduce the budget for the elections office. And thank you for hearing me out. Please give Tracy all the money she needs for us to have a safe and fair election.
Rebecca Scott, 3049 South Portland One Road. I have been a poll worker. Tell me, it's not easy. I did it several times, and I'm not able to do it now. But with doing it, we had long hours, and we had a lot of questions asked. And this year definitely is not going to be exception to that rule. We're going to have a lot of things going on. We may not get the equipment right away, but we're going to get it. And from my understanding, being on the Board of Elections, that it's going to be big stuff. Where we normally would have those with legs, we're not going to have that. So you're going to look at tables. That's not going to be furnished coming from where we came. Then with putting them back in after the election, I dealt with that. And it's not easy putting those things up. They already in the case of those now.
but we're gonna have to find a place to put those new equipment with tables, with printers, with a thing that's gonna look like a washing machine for the boats. All of that has got to be secured and got to be in a safe environment, and it's gotta be close to them. That little storage room that they have over there is not gonna hold it. Not gonna hold it. So, my suggestion is that you look at it and you look at it good. Because we're gonna need help in taking care of what's coming in Madison County, what's coming all over the state and the United States. So we need you to look at that carefully. And cutting, you're not gonna make it. And as it's been stated before, sooner or later you're gonna have to pay for it. But you just want to do it and do it up front. To make it safe, make it efficient for everyone. Thank you.
Lori Webster, 662 Back Road, Old Georgia. And I'm just here to concur with what has already been said. This is a really important election coming up with all the changes that are coming up in the high emotional state of the country. We need to make sure that Tracy has everything she needs to make sure that Madison County elections are run properly and accessible for everyone.
Cynthia Fortson, 34 East Fifth Avenue, Concord, Georgia. And I'm just coming up here also to reinforce that I hope that you hear what the public has to say about the budget. And if there's any way you can cut somewhere else or get money from somewhere else, we would appreciate that you really take the time to look into the budget carefully. And because you have a lot of people that are gonna be elderly, disabled, and everybody that's going to need help, and the election workers really need what they need in order to make this election be the election that it continues this year. I appreciate your time.
Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Suzanne Hudgens, 6509 Highway 106 South. I don't come to these meetings very often, and so I have a question. I agree with what everybody has said, but I just wondered, why am I out of order as why did you all?
You can ask your question and we'll talk about it when the agenda item comes up at 4.
Okay. Well,
We'll make sure all of them are answered.
Okay, I just didn't know why, I just really would like to hear why we cut it this year. So
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not for that, thank you.
Anyone else?
I'm here, might as well say something.
There you go.
I agree with everything they said. I mean, this isn't the year to take away from the voting booths. We need them. We want everybody to have an election, you know. So I'm gonna ditto everything they said. The next thing I'd say is Veronda Wooten. For years, I've done this. She's always been 100% there, answer questions, make sure if we didn't understand something. I mean, this has been her position this whole time. I don't think it's just a matter of making it right, you know.
Anyone else? Not gonna go? No? All right. We'll move on to new business, and first item up for discussion tonight is the Board of Elections Registration's 2020 requirements. We'll let our fearless leader come up.
Tracy's got some papers she's gonna hand out to you. And it's just about some of the voting equipment that we are getting. I do appreciate the opportunity to come speak to you tonight, to discuss, I've got two things I want to discuss with you tonight. The first thing is the, additional storage space for the new voting equipment that we're gonna be receiving before the end of the year. And then the other, I would like to talk about the 2020 budget for our department. that you all have approved. First, I want to tell everybody that the Board of Elections is the one, we are the ones who decide whether consolidation will take place or not. And our board decided no. The election code states that if you are consolidating to save money, then you're looking at it wrong. You're not taking the best interest of the public or the voters at hand. And that's, as I've told you many times before, when I took that oath as the chairperson of the Board of Elections, I took that oath serious. I am, you know, I don't like problems. I don't want any problems with any elections. We go by the laws that set before us, and the voters of the county are my priority. And I want to make sure that those that are eligible to vote have that opportunity, because it's one of the last opportunities that we all have. The state announced in August that the vendor that was awarded the equipment, or the contract for the equipment, and as you can see, I don't have a full, I wanted to get a picture of everything the way it was laid out when the voter would go and vote on election day, but this is what I've been able to come up with. This new equipment, there are more components to it than what we have now. In the November election, we will use what we currently have, but in March of next year, which will be the presidential preference, it is mandated that we will use the new equipment. With that being said, the storage area. I'm gonna just kind of paint you a picture, if you'll just bear with me for a little bit, because I gotta tell you a little bit about the equipment and how the voter, what they're gonna see when they come and vote. So if you will just bear with me for a minute. When you go into the polls on election day with the new equipment, you're gonna have that voter certificate there. Right now, it's up in the air whether the voter will actually have and complete that voter certificate, or if that's gonna be a part of that electronic poll book, or the express poll as we have it now. That's still up in the air. It's been said that we'll still go ahead and use the voter certificates, but once, say we use that, the voter fills that out, takes it over to the poll worker where this electronic poll book is. That poll worker is going to look that voter up. Then they will have the capabilities of turning the poll book around so that the voter will actually be able to see and verify that that is in fact who I am. They will sign that with their finger or with a pen or stylus, you know. They're showing their license as well as that form of ID or whatever type of ID they have. The little machine is turned back around, and the poll worker will take a smart card or a voter access card similar to what we've used now, the little yellow card, and they will put it in the machine and encode that ballot for that particular voter. Once that is done, the voter goes to the voting station. Now, this is what's really different from what we've had in the past. In the past, we've had the machines that's standing on their legs, they go over there, they put the card in, and they vote. Cast the ballot, and they're out the door. Well, there's a couple more steps this time. They're gonna take that card, they're gonna put it into a, it's not an iPad, but it's called a ballot marking device, and it'll be about a 21-inch screen. And attached to that is a printer. Every polling precinct will have these. The state is going to be giving us, we've been told 82. And that doesn't mean a combination of 82, that means 82 printers, 82 ballot marking devices. Now the voter's gonna when they put that card in there and they vote, at the bottom when they get through, they can go back and review what they voted, or they can hit print ballot. When they hit that print ballot, the ballot's gonna print out on the printer. And by the way, keep in the back of your mind, guess who gets to pay for the toner and the paper? We do. We'll have to furnish toner for each of the machines. Right now, the paper that is going to be used is a security type paper. We can only get it from this particular vendor, and it's 13 cents a page. So keep that in the back of your mind. Once they say, okay, this is I'm in agreement with this ballot, they're not finished. There will be a poll worker there that will, encourage them, please, make sure that you have voted the correct ballot that you need. And then they'll take the voter access card,
And then they will go over to another machine that's called a scanner or a tabulating machine. This is the machines that, we went to a meeting Friday and I said, well, someone told me that it was the size of a washing machine. And this, elections official from Lowndes County, she said, no, it's actually a little larger. The state's giving us 15. I feel that we need at least 20 to 22. They're approximately $4,000 a piece, so that means we're gonna have to get anywhere from 5 to 7 extras. I do not want to put out one of those machines in a precinct like Hull, when we have over 4,000 voters. I don't want a line to be backed up for waiting on people just to put their ballot into that tabulating machine. So therefore, I would want 2 or either 3 there. So when the voter has a ballot, they're gonna insert it into this tabulating machine and it drops down into a hopper. At that point, another poll worker will give them a sticker, tell them they have voted, have a good day. And they will exit the polling location. So you're talking about, we've got several different new components, we're having to use some larger components. Now, these ballot marking devices and the printers and the electronic poll books will be, we will get those, but they will be in soft cases, like kind of like a backpack or something like that. They will be in soft cases. It's recommended that we not stack them, especially the ballot marking devices, because of the screen. If you stack them, it's going to damage those screens there as they're stacked. So therefore, we're gonna have to be creative in some way of getting all those 82 put in the storage area. The big washing machines, as they have been referred to, of course, you can't stack them, so they will have to be sitting around. And I don't know if any of you have actually went over to our office and seen the room that we have all of our election equipment in it now. We can get in the door, and that's about it. We have to move stuff out to get things that's in there now. So I know that there's not gonna be enough room for the new equipment that we've got coming in. So that is the first reason that I'm here tonight, is to ask for additional storage space attached and have it be constructed to our existing building. I was told that I would need to get a contractor to come out and just give a quote or an estimate. So I've done that, and I believe you will have, I think I attached one of the contractor that gave us an estimate of that. It's a 22 by 22 addition. It will be, with security, and you can look at all the specs there that he's got written down. It will be secure, because it will just attach on to what we have now in our office. It will be climate control, in a climate controlled environment. So that's something that, you know, the code says we have to do that. Do y'all have any questions so far?
Is 22 by 22 large enough?
You know, I can always, you know, I'd rather have, you know, to answer that question, if we can do it bigger, then yes, it would, you know, could be bigger. That right now, I'm looking at, that would be sufficient for right now. You know, in the future, I don't know what, if they're gonna change something or add something else, I don't know. But right now, the 22 by 22s with, you know, that's counting a concrete pad that would, a small pad that would go out of the building around, so that when our custodians are loading up the equipment to deliver and to bring back, you know, that covers me going through that area too.
Yeah, I don't want you to build a new space and then you're already having to move stuff out of that space, you know what I'm saying? I want you to have.
Right, right, yeah, and that's exactly right. So, yeah, if the county, if you all would agree to build it larger, then that's fine. I mean, I know nothing about construction, so, you know, that's, and at this process, I've never had to do this before, so I don't even know what we do next. I mean, if it's approved that we look into that, because I have no space.
We'll have time for him to do anything in the next meeting.
Right,
So we've got some time to do that, so
Right.
don't feel like you're.
So you just got this one quote that almost $46,000, right?
Right, and that's what I didn't know. I was told to get a quote, and then we would go from there, because I think it's over a certain amount, you have to have bids for it. And then I'm sure that, you know, you would explain the bidding process, because I don't know.
All right, so I'm trying to understand this. Well, back when we were talking about the budget, a lot of this stuff is like, I didn't know. So when did you know?
About this equipment,
And now all this Yeah, the
When they
particulars.
awarded the contract in August, and I'll be honest with you, they're not telling us, what you have, what I'm telling you now is what we've been getting in our region.
All
The
right.
region,
So you knew about it though back in August. I guess I'm the first time I'm hearing about this, right?
basically, yes, I mean, we knew we were getting new voting
Okay.
equipment, but we didn't know it was gonna be more components and, you know, how.
I'm not being, I'm just
No, no,
saying,
no, I
I'm just
understand.
saying
You're
that.
right.
And I
Right.
won't- if you don't mind me asking,
Yes.
I know that the chairman tried to sit down with every department. Were y'all able to sit down and go through some of this stuff?
Yes, sir.
Y'all did?
Okay.
Y'all
Let
did
me,
meet?
I wanna give you, I will be glad to talk about that. On May the 13th, that's when the budget was due to the commissioners. And at that time, I copied and went into a detailed list to give all of you a copy of what I was requesting. And like I've said, from year to year, the Board of Elections cannot base their budget on year to year. We have to go by the years that had that particular. So we're basing stuff, we're going back to 2016. Now, a lot has happened since 2016. And now we've added this voting equipment in there. And I'm trying to, let's see here. There was a date that I came in and I talked to the chairman and to the finance director. At that time, we discussed my budget. It was discussed consolidation at that time. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I thought, well, that might be an idea that we reach, but I'm not gonna do anything without consulting my parties and the public first. So I explained to them that I would want to do some research on it. Well, I did the research and then I presented it to my board, and that's when we decided that we're not looking at consolidation. Because I had nothing but negative, you know, and like I said, I'm here for the vote, I'm not here to, you know, I know y'all know more about the money and stuff than I do.
And we agreed with you.
We agreed, we
Right,
agreed.
you do,
I mean,
you
we
do,
agreed.
absolutely.
I think in the budget meeting that we talked about that, and we said this is probably not the year to do that.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly, and that's the reason we, you know, I think a lot of the concern tonight is the fact that the budget was cut. A large percentage of it was, let's just jump over, I was gonna go into the site, well, I covered the storage, and do you have any questions about storage?
You have any more questions?
I'll hold until you finish.
Okay. Now, going back to the budget, I believe that was a lot of the concerns tonight was because the budget was cut. Now, when I went before, the finance director and the chairman, I had requested $80,000 for poll worker, a line item there. I did not know that it had gotten cut or anything until I get a phone call telling me that the 2020 approved budget copy was in my box over here to pick up. So I come and get it. I get back to the office and I'm looking at it. And I'm in shock because it's cut by $30,000, that one particular line item. That is, poll workers, I cannot do without my poll workers. And I know that a lot of them see that budget, they're gonna say, oh, they don't need me anymore, what they gonna do, you know. That line item covers approximately 75 workers. It covers custodians that take the machines out, set them up, go back and pick them up after the elections, bring them back into the office. That includes, extra help that I have to have an election as far as, the early voting goes. And then it's the board paid, which that doesn't amount to a whole lot on that end. But my main concern was my poll workers. And now that we've cut it by $30,000, and on top of that, the election law states that every poll worker has to be trained, mandatory training prior to every presidential preference, prior to every general primary, and every general election. Runoffs, you know, it's the main elections that count. Well, when we pay them at $25 for a 2-hour training, and then we've got to throw in now, we're throwing in new voting equipment, and I'm not going to send a poll worker out to a voting site that doesn't know what they're doing. Because that makes all of us look bad. So I want to make sure that they're trained. And if it takes them to come in more than one time, then I want them to come more than one time to be trained. So therefore, that's the reason that was included in there. I've never padded my budget, nor am I going to do that. I talked to one of the neighboring counties the other week, and she said, oh, well, the commissioners, our commissioners, they cut my budget, but that's okay, cause I always pad mine. I think that's wrong. And I'm sure there are departments that do that, but I'm here to talk about my department, and that's something I don't do. But that was my major concern was that poll worker. I had requested $15,000 for small equipment. That would take up some of the things that we might have to have, and I would say that, you know, if which I know a computer doesn't cost that much, but if we had to go and redo something in the office, you know, that would help take care of that. That was cut out completely.
I know, I was just thinking.
What was it in 2016? What was that line item?
The line item in 2016, that particular one was 14,000. In 2016, you talking about for the small equipment?
No,
I think he's talking about the wages.
the wage for the poll workers.
For the election workers.
In 2016, and this is the only reason I figured this, you know, could come up with it.
Wages, election workers.
Right, wages, election workers. I budgeted or asked for 71,000, and we only used 47,000. But when I budget, I have to take into consideration any special elections that we may have, and we did not have any that year. So therefore, that's the reason that amount was lower. Now, I know that we will have the presidential preference, the general primary, the runoff, the general election, and now it's very highly that with Mr. Isaacson announcing his retirement, that there may be a runoff and a federal election. Well, then we're looking what happened here. We didn't expect to have a state runoff last year, but we did. So that's a December election and a January 2021 election we've got to take into consideration. Did that answer your question with that? Okay.
Yeah, and then the 80,000, that was totally poll work. That didn't include any of the requirements for the deputies or whatever that we got there. Because I know we added that in the.
Right, and see, that was another thing
The
that.
sheriff, we put that in the sheriff.
Yes, sir. And there was another thing that I had looked, somewhere I'd gotten a copy of a 2020 proposed budget, and it had, and like I said, I don't understand the contingency funds and all that stuff, but it was out there about that. And then it was also, 70,000 was set aside at that contingency for, elections equipment. The question that I have for that would, if it's going to elections, should it not be in my budget so that I can watch it and see, or how, I don't know how that works. You know, I don't understand how that works.
Yeah.
But that was, if that's earmarked for
Yeah.
equipment, then I wouldn't be able to use it for poll worker pay. That make sense?
I understand. We have to talk about exactly how that was set up, but it was
You've
very
raised-
contingency.
Yeah, you've raised some questions for me that I'm gonna have to ask some questions too.
I mean, I just like I said, when I got that notice that the budget was over here in the box, and when I looked at it, I'm gonna be honest with you, I got ticked off because I'm thinking, you know, I have been up here repeatedly and asked, if you've got any questions, please ask me. But nobody asked about that. Nobody asked, well, what is this 80,000 used for? And then I looked at it and it's cut.
Well, I wish that.
Is that part of our October discussion?
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to have
My understanding was
$7
the director department and the regular wages. We'll be in discussion in October when we talk about.
Well, see, I
the
mean, that's
election
kind of what
workers,
I was figuring, that's what it was.
And see, I understood it as the opposite. It's because mine, I feel like the 80 was in there, because that's what I thought
Right.
it was, because we were
Well,
planning.
we never
for that.
discussed.
I know, that's the reason I've got questions. That's the reason I've got some questions to ask.
And a lot of these questions are because the chairman's not here.
Right, I understand that, and I'm not trying to, I don't want y'all, but I'm being just real picky or uglier than anything here.
And we also, you know, as far as this equipment storage, we talked, knowing that we're gonna do that, we talked about alternatives that might be options to doing something that would still be secure. And I mean, we talked about those. No decision was made.
Right.
But that's something, because at that point, just like you, we had no idea what the equipment's gonna look like.
Exactly.
And we are
shooting at a moving target.
We are all shooting at a moving target with this.
We are looking at options for your storage
Right, and it was asked, you
Try
know,
to use the building multi-purpose.
So that's something we worked on.
We are working on it.
I
That's
don't
much I can say,
think-
to be quite honest.
right, I don't think that getting a storage building out to the back of us is the
No.
answer.
No,
That's not-
and that's not what we
Okay,
decided.
good. And I don't think that having the equipment at another location is the answer.
We,
If I'm responsible for that, then I want it right there where I can, you know, I
right.
can sit and.
We understand the concerns, and that's the reason it's being discussed.
Good.
And anything that we would do would be discussions with you before we did that. But that's all sort of future, so I just don't want a misconception to be, especially with folks, that this for somehow I don't know that, it sort of comes upon me that I'm sort of was blindsided that people think we cut the budget, because the whole time I think we've sat here and said, well, we've sort of made areas here because we didn't really know where, made allocations because we didn't really know what we were dealing with until
Right. When I
now. And
look-
that's the reason I asked the question about when did you know this?
Right, but when I look at that budget, and I know that I requested 80,000, and I'm seeing 50, and nobody's explaining, you know, we made,
Right,
that's
that's
what
communication.
alarms
That's
me.
just a communication
Yes.
system. You got, the money's there, it's just not in the line item for the equipment. It's in the
But
contingency.
the-
fund. That's
I
what
mean,
we're
does
doing.
that-
And that's,
Earmarked.
I think,
Not the board.
all right,
No,
listen,
not the
okay,
board.
so.
No, not
so-
the board, the
so
equipment.
The equipment is earmarked in our contingency. The wages is what, to be quite honest, and it's probably gonna stay at this, I'm gonna have to ask some questions about that. Because I believe my numbers were a little different. I don't think that 30 was out of line. And so we need to talk to the chairman, we need to get to the bottom of this.
Well, I just,
and
I
make- and
don't
just
I
come
don't
up
know
with the
who,
truth.
you know, I just wish somebody had consulted me before they go and cut
Yes,
it.
ma'am, yes,
But
ma'am.
if you didn't know it happened, then,
Well, no,
That's what we got.
this went on a while back. So,
I don't know.
you know, we're-
okay.
I think we did discuss about the wages, and I think that is coming up in the discussion,
And
part of October, because
But now, would that not, I mean, that's separate from, I would think that would be separate from
that's
like
what,
the
that's the way I
office
understood it
staff.
too. And that's what I'm saying, like, we need to get a hold on this. And would you be willing to come back at the end of the month?
Yes, you just let
So
me
we
know
can,
on
so we
that.
can, so we can actually address
Because
that.
like I said, I thought that, I wouldn't think that you would, put those coworkers into that adjustments or whatever that you're talking about in October when that you're getting together. I would think that would just be the staff. You know.
yeah, well, maybe that was true, that.
I'd say that line item in 2016 plays a big role in that. 'Cause we're
Yeah,
3,000
47,
above
I think.
2016.
Yeah, that may have been.
I promise you we'll get to the
All right,
bottom.
we'll get to the bottom of it, because
I mean, like I said, you know, that, I just want to, you know, and that's why I wanted to give you all a heads up that budget, next year's budget is probably gonna go over when you're looking at it at the end of the year. It will be an over, because, you know, I've got to, the code says that, you know, even though you do, and no disrespect to any of you, you do set the budget. But it's ultimately what the superintendent of the elections, it's not only me, it's myself and my 2 board members. They are the ones that are the superintendent of elections, and we're the ones, whatever we need, that we deem necessary to run that election by the law, not disenfranchising any voter. That was my concern. I just wanted to make you aware, because you and I have talked before, that, you know, whatever we had, if I had something come up, to let you know about it. So that's what I'm letting you know about it.
that's right. And that was the only reason I asked the question of when, the timing.
Right, and I understand that, and then, let me just throw something else here. In the past, for our voting equipment, we've been able to use the old coroner's van to take out the equipment. And we'll still do that in November, but we won't be able to do that next year. So therefore, I'm gonna have to look at other ways of, you know, making sure that equipment's still, some counties rent out U-Hauls and deliver and then pick it up. That's something that we might, you know, and I didn't include that in the budget because, you know, we didn't know what we were getting.
Might be creative with that.
Whatever you haul it in, does it have to be climate controlled? Or is it gonna be there just for a limited
It's not,
time?
it's just from leaving our office and to setting up in the
Probably
precinct.
one time around.
Yeah. And if you
I've
ever
done
been
it in a
at,
box truck.
well, I would tell you, that, the coroner's van, It's something else to drive on.
I wouldn't want all these.
I wouldn't wanna use it now.
Mr. Hoffman and Mr. Harry, you know, they doesn't seem to bother them. You know, they'll come get that thing and they, off they go.
We call it a mystery thing.
Yes, it's very much a mystery, yes, it is.
I know Derek asked a question, you're waiting.
I did, just really some of it's general and some of it's questions. You mentioned that the state's giving us 82 units. How many do we currently have? I just don't, you've been told me in the past, I don't remember.
Close to, it's probably close to 92, 94, somewhere around there. Yeah, we have several that doesn't, that they do not work.
I just couldn't remember.
So,
Then, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, I'm sorry that,
I
I
was-
mean,
Finish up, Commissioner.
sorry.
You were talking about the size of the units and the extra equipment and stuff, so if we stay in the same place, you know, is there gonna be a reduction of actual number of units that can be set up? Cause there's, the places that are there are limited in space as they are.
Are you talking about the precincts now, or, no, I would not go any less, my smallest precinct is, Paoli. They've already gotten up to about 250 voters. It's mandated that we send out at least 2 machines, and the reason we do that is because if one fails or the power goes off, you know, you've got that one. So they get the 2 machines. Now precinct like Hull, when they have we have over 4,000 voters, I have 12 machines to set up there on the big election. Of course, your runoff, you're not gonna have that much, but, on a big election, I'll have 12 units there. So they're gonna have 12 printers and 12 of the ballot marking devices, and 2 or 3 of the, I almost want to call it the tabulator, the washing machines. And then they will have 2 to 3 of the electronic poll books. Does that answer?
Well, I guess just from a space allocation, like, you know, of course I go to the depot and call it, so I'm thinking when you go in the door and there's the tables you sign in and then the machines are around, you know, then you bring back the card. If the unit is actually bigger than what is there now, you can't fit the same number of units in the
We're gonna
same
have to
space.
be, like I said, we're gonna have to be creative, and I'm gonna have to look at, one of the ballot marking device and the, printer will fit, was what we were told Friday, will fit on a 4-foot table. So I'm gonna have to do, and there's companies out there that have these, and I can send each of you a copy of it. It's some type of, stand where there's 2 machines, 2 stations, one on each side. It has, they're wonderful, they have a privacy curtain on them and all. But I'm worried about the legs of them and how sturdy they are. And those, you can set, I would be able to set probably, and there's no telling how many in Colbert. Colbert is tight, it really is tight.
No, that's right. I mean, and I realize you're just getting into this. I was just curious. I guess the other question I have is, you mentioned the number of elections that's potentially for the 2020 election cycle. It sounded, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what I thought I heard you say is a potential for one to be pushed to January of 2020.
Yes, sir, the federal, runoff is January, you remember that runoff? Somewhere around the first part of January, that's the federal runoff. The state and local runoff, if we have to have one from that general election, is in December. I think it's like December the 5th, something like that.
And that's fine. I mean, my point being I realize it's a tight window, don't get me wrong, but I think from a technical standpoint, that's a different budget cycle that can be addressed. You know, if we know what's coming.
Partly, but I have to prepare for that a way ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason it needed to be included in here, because you've got early voting that will be going on in
So it's
December.
partial.
And
That's fine.
you'll have, absentee ballots, because there's one, window there that we could possibly be sending out absentee ballots for the federal runoff and early voting for another.
All right, my last thing, the quote that you got, not that I have specific questions on it, but I guess curiosity on, and I realize it's probably just been limited, you know, for a quick review, but I guess sit down, or I would encourage you to sit down and really go through what the requirements may or may be not needed, because here it says 8 receptacles on the wall. I don't know how many you got, but if you got, you know, I don't know if each unit has to be continually plugged in for charging, and I'm just trying to, I'm trying to mentally go through this room that if you have to do something, or we have to provide space for it, to make sure the attributes of the room meet the needs, and we're not just again, I mean, nobody wants to just go spend money, don't get me wrong. But if we have to spend money, let's do it, or realize, hey, we gotta do something on a temporary basis and get it fixed. I just, you just can't jam everything in there and not have a place to work.
Right,
You can't.
and I agree with that.
So,
Mr. Harvey from the Secretary of State, he's the elections director. At a meeting we had Friday, he said that these machines use more electricity than the ones that we currently have. So yes, they will have to be charged, and I will need adequate, outlets and stuff like that.
Mr. Carr? Mr. Kirk?
I just want one question. So in 2016, how many elections did we have? I'm not, just roughly, do you remember?
Well, we had the presidential,
Right,
then we had the general primary, and then we had we had a runoff, and then we had a general.
right.
So that's
okay.
4.
4, so we anticipate
We could possibly have, 6.
6.
Now, just like anytime we have an election, like this year, it's on the calendar, we had this general election in November. But there are also certain days that's set by the state throughout the year for, questions or for vacancies of an office. If someone resigns, passes away, or whatever, then you have to have a special election at that point.
Sure. And then one other question, you talked about some voter training or whatever. Now, this would be like sessions for people to come in and familiarize themselves with the machines, or is this for the?
No, that's true, okay, what that I'm talking about is the training of the poll workers. We will have them come to our office and we will train them on the new equipment.
Right.
Now, as far as they would get paid for that.
Right.
Now, it was mentioned earlier about the public. That's what I want to do, is reach out to the public any way, any form, fashion, wherever we can, Rotary clubs, or any kind of clubs.
Okay, so you
To
have,
train, but we have to be compensated. If I pull some poll workers in to help me do that, then they're gonna have to be compensated for it.
but that would be more like going and setting it up and having it with some group and meeting with a group or something.
Right, but now, like I said, in this amount that we included, that included their training, and a part of that
Okay.
is they would come to the office and we would train, and I would have them go through each piece of the equipment.
And the other, but it included also that public portion of it, did it include that also?
No, sir, no, you're talking, no, sir, that, no.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand what was included, and what.
Mr. Betts?
We need to do everything we can to support your department.
I appreciate that.
And, you've always run a first-class organization, top of the line. There's no one that knows the elections procedures, laws, and all that better than you. We're blessed to have you and your staff. And I apologize if there was any lack of communication and whatever, but we gotta make this right. We cannot go, we have to do what we need to do to make this all a very seamless procedure for you. We know there's a lot on your shoulders for your.
Yeah, because right now, I'm in the middle of, I got my database in for November. Ballots, I'm fixing to get the ballots in. All that will start coming in, we'll start early voting October the 14th. In between that, we gotta start training poll workers for that election. And, I could sit here just continually, then I've gotta, have this other equipment ready to go. When they say we're coming to get it, because we were told Friday, we're probably not be able to give us much of a notice. But I know that they won't come and get it until after the 30 days after the election. So I'm looking probably the second week of December, possibly, before they'll start picking that up. And I don't need to be worried about where I'm gonna get the monies to take care of next year. And I would encourage each of you, when you go to vote, whether it be at my office early or on election day, please, I tell my poll workers all the time, and I call my poll workers like this, how much I appreciate them. Please let them know how much you appreciate them, because they don't get thanks enough for that. And that is a long day. They are there at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they don't leave until it is over with. You heard from some of them tonight. And we have some poll workers, Miss Jewel, how long have you worked as a poll worker?
Since '99.
We've had some that's 30, plus years. And I don't want, and, you know, they have all, not all of them, but several of them have threatened me with this new voting equipment that they're not gonna come back. So I don't want them to, you know, I need them, and I do, but just please do tell them how much you appreciate them.
Ms. Rump, you talked about, back one time in the meeting I went to at the senior center, I knew the machines weren't picked, but you were kind of advising everybody was coming. I can't, you talked about the education part of it, and I couldn't remember if it was a discussion, or maybe an idea, I don't know if the state was gonna put out, you know, video clip or something that how this, that could be used and shared, or if that wasn't gonna happen, maybe possibly using maybe something like the high school ability to do like maybe at least something locally.
Right,
And you can share it, you know, social media and those types of things.
Right, we did talk about that, and of course, the vendor that I talked about that day was not chosen. So we're having to just turn right around, and we don't know what they're gonna offer. We have a conference scheduled in December, and we're hoping that we're gonna get a lot of information from there, but, you know, and one other thing I'd like to add too, I've talked with the school system here, and, back in 2012, I used, some of the AP students as poll workers. Wonderful. Our current poll workers love them. And they are getting those available so that they can have credit to help us, so that's something we'll be able to use too. But yeah, as soon as I can find out, if we can get the school to, you know, maybe do a demo, help us do a demo, I'm sure the state will help us with that as well, and we could, you know, put it out on social media somehow.
You think the state would require part of that as the vendor selection?
Yeah, that's true.
Right. Yeah, and of course, I don't want to continue on this, but I just wonder how in the world, if we get 82 machines and we got 92, so is this some kind of formula that the state uses?
Yes, sir, and that's, you know, when, my understanding is when they, put this, thing out there for these vendors to give quotes on, they said, okay, Madison County, we need a quote from vendor A, B, and C. We're gonna send 82 ballot marking devices and 82 printers, and, you know, name the equipment and what we were needing, and each of those companies had to give a quote for that same amount. And then, and the overall picture, I believe the ones that they chose were the cheaper, they gave them come in with a lower bid. We've been told that we as elections officials will love this new system. You know how all of us are about change. And it's kind of scary, but we'll work through it. You know.
We heard the same thing from at commissioner training down in Savannah. They came and spoke and said the same thing, so.
Yeah, 'cause if you,
I'm a little bit like you.
I'm sure that a lot of people, when they announced that, we had a webinar, and the Secretary of State announced who the vendor was. Well, first I had to pick my chin back up, because I was just in shock, but it's all for good, it's a good thing, we'll work, we'll do it.
Anybody have anything else? I'm just gonna be very brief with mine. Everybody good?
I did see that we did set $70,000 aside in contingency for the machines.
Right, for voting equipment, yes.
So, the state never gives us enough money. Every time they mandate something to us, they, you know, same way with tax commissioner, he tell you tons of things they do for him too. So you said we've got 15 of the scanner machines, but we need 20 or 22. Do we need more than 82 machines, regular machines?
Now, I think that number is sufficient for right now. I'm hesitant about bringing this up, but let me go ahead and put it out there. We were talking before about consolidation, or that got thrown out in meetings past. I'm looking on the other side of that. Because when a precinct gets up to a certain amount of voters, the superintendent of election needs to start looking at dividing that precinct. And we've got a couple, we've got one that's probably overdue. But this is not the time to do any of that. So, that's something that, you know, once we'll have a census next year, and then redistricting will take place. Who knows, they may add another, senator to our area, who knows? And then we'll address it at that point, but I don't wanna bombard all my voters with all this right now.
I really hope that the new, because I do believe it's time consuming compared to the old system, I just hope it doesn't deter voters that way too, but, you know, because it doesn't.
Well, that's the reason I wanna get it out and tell, you know, let the people people, if I have to, have a meeting here one night at the courthouse, when the courtroom's big enough, invite the public in, and have the machine set up there, and let them come through and just, play around with it, and explain to them what, and that's what I wanna do. I've got to reach out to that voter.
You might take a road show to the fire departments too, or something.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I was hoping that maybe we'd get what we needed and we would be trained before the, fair on here. Because in 2002, when we got the equipment we have now, Judge Washington set up a booth down at the Comer Fair. And, we went in and we trained and had people come in and check it out.
One more question for you. I've got a meeting, a big meeting with a big group on the policy committee for ACCG. Secretary of State will be at that meeting Wednesday. Is there anything you would like for me to ask him, comment to him, beat him up on?
Just help the counties, help the counties,
Well, it'll be a ACCG meeting, so we'll all be screaming at him to help the counties, because, it just seems like they just continually put more and more on us.
This may not be nothing to you all, but, if at all possible, I know we have talked about it several times about a sign out there on 29.
I'm glad we get the little one that you can put out,
Yeah.
that was the hardest thing to deal with.
Yeah, it was, and, I like the sign we got over there, don't get me wrong, but,
Oh,
when you've got those sandbags, and now they've already split.
we
so
remember I told you, they told me they were trying to do away with as many signs on the side of the road as possible. And they talked about they want voter suppress and things like that, and then turn around and wouldn't let us put a sign, we can only put it out there so many times, it's just, so, I'll keep working on it as long as I'm here, so.
But I do appreciate each of you time that you let me speak with you tonight.
Yeah, we echo what Commissioner Pettis said. Yeah, we sure
And
appreciate
just
you.
remember
We'll get to talk.
my staff and the talks about.
How many are there? How many total? Poll workers you got?
Approximately 75.
75.
And I will add that, in 2016, we had between 15 and 16,000 registered voters. We're over 20,000 now.
Okay.
So, and you had how many poll workers did you say?
Approximately 75 in the big election. Now, of course, in November, I won't use that.
You're not at, now they had to add a deputy to every poll.
Right.
So it's,
And later on, I'll probably be coming back, I was going to give you a heads up on this, I'll probably be coming back to you because Secretary of State's office suggested that each elections office have a representative from Homeland Security to come out and look at the infrastructure of our building. And he is doing a report. Chairman, Scarver came over for a little while, the sheriff came over, the IT department. Very eye-opening, some things that in our office that could need to be addressed, but what he will do, he will make a report, and it's even in secret. I have to have a code to even go in and get that. So, that's something I may have to be coming before you, for doors or what have you. But just keep that in mind. So that I won't spring that on you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll move on to, agenda item number 5. Discussing, changing the position title to county clerk administrator. At this point now, obviously this is just a discussion, how it works. If you have any questions for Ms. Wanda, if you have any questions that you would like to pose to the other commissioners so they can think about those, that kind of stuff, this is the time to do that, so I'm just gonna open it up a little bit, and whoever wants to start, we'll
Well, I have one comment that, in looking at this, I think that Ronnie's probably been doing all of this. I'm the new guy here, but I've seen that she's been very competent at doing that. The only thing that, I don't see changes that I would really look at trying to make on some of the items under here, that the responsibilities or whatever, as they're outlined. But the job title itself, I think just semantics, okay? I would propose maybe we do county clerk / administrative assistant, because really what administrator sometimes comes across as being someone who placed by the board as sort of a person who's, I guess, the administrator of the county. You know, somebody maybe that's had the, has been totally trained and educated as far as to be like the administrator and have those. And I just don't, you know, I think that it's semantics a little bit, but I think that that probably would be a clearer title is since really the county clerk and then this administrative assistant portion of it really works as under the direction of the chairman as we have it set up. So it's just sort of semantics, but I think that makes it a little clearer out there to the public, you know, because there might be some confusion with the administrator and how it's used in context in other counties as well. That's my thing.
You're saying that's a big confusion with county manager?
County manager.
Well, they do have county administrators.
And that's the way I'm looking at it. You know, I'm throwing that out as, that's my feelings on that.
Okay. Anyone else?
I probably echo Brian's sentiment to a point where, again, I'd like a little more time to look over and digest it a little bit, but in the, I'm gonna say the hierarchy of municipal and governmental administration, there's, you know, there's elected officials and there's county managers and county administrators, and I think there's, I'll say some general definition across the board that there's expectations there, and then, so I need some more time to digest
Would you think we keep not even change the job title at all, just keep the county clerk and just update the duties, because the duties are, you know, it is what she's doing. So, you know, that might be something we could think.
I don't disagree with that, I'm just,
You know, maybe just update the duties or something. Like I said, these are just things to discuss.
I like the title myself only because I feel like, Ms. Wooten has been acting as an administrator. Again, we had some folks speak about that, as, you know, quite often it sounds like that many of the department heads, speak often with her and look for her for answers and, or information. I do understand what you all are saying. But quite honestly, I don't know if the administrative assistant would quite, encapsulate her responsibilities, capture that.
You gotta have a title with teeth, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
and, yeah, I didn't mean to
No.
disrespect in that,
Right.
because when you look at, I'm going back to industry, the administrative assistant to the plant manager, Caterpillar, has a lot of teeth in it. You know what I'm saying? But it also points out that they're working sort of at the direction of the chairman. And I don't want that to be lost, not so much with Rhonda, but also if we continue to have this as future people, that needs to be sort of an understanding, and also that the public understands that also. As long as we have a commissioner type, you know, a chairman of the commission type government.
Definitely, some stuff to think about. And like I said, you know, we meet back on the 30th. So, you know, we've got 21 days to talk about this, figure out all the questions we have and get the answers. And I will say, you know, you talk to any of the county employees, department heads, you know, she's the liaison.
There's no doubt.
No doubt. She's the one I call.
So, you know, we really do appreciate you. But anyone else have anything on that? Any further? No? Anybody have any roads updates? Anybody need anything passed along to the county?
Can I back up just a little bit? Yeah. Whatever we do call it, you know, it is invaluable to have someone in place that is always there and I'm not, the chairman's in and out, he's got things he's got to go lay his hands on at times. But for somebody that can make a decision right then, that, you don't have this backlog, you don't have, it saves the county money in the end for somebody to make a quick decision. Now, we may have to lay out what those decisions are and all that kind of stuff and where they fall and what, how much they cost and all this kind of stuff. But give some parameters. But for those things that John already knows, that she knows, and probably better than any of us, including him, that it just makes sense.
That efficiency.
It just makes sense. She doesn't have that ability now.
So roads update. Derek, you have some?
Yeah, I need the road department to look at the end of Bullock Mill at Dansville Road. There was another run through there, in that, lobster thing.
You said Bullock Mill?
Yeah, this fence and gate. Yes, right. There's some shrubbery that might need to be trimmed back. And then possibly updating, he requested rump strips, but I don't know if that's the right approach, but we just need to address it. Or we need to look at it again. You know, where the T-post are, putting the full reflective strip down the whole post. There's probably a couple of different end treatments that could be done to, he was concerned, I mean, he agreed that, it's an aggravation, he has to deal with his fence and such, but there's some school buses and stuff coming down through there, and he just don't want somebody running out getting hurt.
I do know that, on a county road, you cannot put speed bumps, but you can, I'm pretty sure you can put those little rumbles coming up to the stop sign and all that stuff, so, I'll pass that along to Ms. Rumbles, too. Anyone else in the room? You got Derek on the phone?
Actually, I thought, well, I didn't speak, sorry, it was a text.
We've had such a wet summer, and I don't know if y'all are getting calls on, y'all getting calls on limbs and overhanging branches and shrubbery and everything. And people are getting frustrated, those arts, they just finally got the bucket truck that works, and they're out behind, and it takes forever to get 300 and something square miles of county. And please just be patient with it.
And that is something that's usually done in the fall times too, I know running golf courses, we always did that stuff, in the fall. Anybody else? No? Number 7, urgent matters, we talked about it earlier. If you guys would like to discuss that tonight, we'll need a motion, a second, to put that on the agenda, have to be unanimous. And then, we'd look for a motion to approve or not approve, and then we can discuss it.
I'd like to make the motion that we add Carol, or the position of county extension agent, and the addition to pay to the agenda.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Strick, or any discussion, I should say?
Well, actually, I went to college. She's Carol Hicks then, Carol Knight now. I've known her for 25 years. I knew her when I was in high school, when she was showing cattle, and did an excellent job. She was one of those blue winners every time she went into the ring. I went to college with her, and she's a very driven person. She's a very organized person. She's a leader. I was chairman of the Great Southland Stampede Rodeo in 1999, when we used to have it in the Coliseum, and she was my assistant chairman and went on to be chairman the next year. And she's a go-getter. She makes connections well. She knows a lot of people, and she's not afraid to get dirty. She's a very, very, very hard worker, and I think that she would be. I think she would greatly be a wonderful benefit to the livestock teams and to the judging teams. Anything animal-based, I know, and she has a degree in animal science, but she would also, she has a broad knowledge of agriculture, so if she doesn't know the answer to something, would be it agronomy-based, or be it something to do with, crop, she's gonna find out. She's gonna, and she'll run through every opportunity, every avenue she has at the university to come back with a good answer.
Well, let's go ahead and vote. So you go ahead and start us off, Trip.
I make the motion that we go ahead.
We gotta put in, urgent matters, so we're just gonna vote, put it on the urgent matters, and then we'll have that.
Okay.
motion. Okay. So,
I
did
do-
you vote yea or nay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. All right, so we put that on the agenda. Now, looking for a motion to approve or not approve the, $1,500 toward the new extension officer.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve it.
I'll second.
All right, now we can discuss it a little further. Now, I would like to start this off. I talked to the chairman. He had talked to UGA. I'm not sure, they wanted us to approve this. The money was there, and I think that was part of the negotiation. They are gonna hopefully go back and talk to her and say, hey, will you accept a little less, but if they have this, at least they know what they've got to go on. She is a livestock expert. I know that if she doesn't work here, Banks County is ready to, I'm pretty sure they're ready to put the whole bill. And so, I can't find anyone that says anything bad about her. I think that, with the university footing this much of the bill, which to be quite honest, never happens. And going forward, just to let you guys know, going forward, this will be in stone. So going forward, we're not paying any more, they're not gonna drop the bill on us later or anything like that. That's gonna be written up and all that. So, just wanted you guys to know what was going on there. And, Adam, even, we spoke to Adam even spoke very highly of her. And he knows what's going on and all that too, so, that's all I have to say. If anybody has any questions.
Well, College of Agriculture realizes that we're either first or second in farm gate values.
Yeah, that's right.
And that we really need, whoever our county extension agent is, that they need to be knowledgeable and they need to be work ready, not on the job training.
That's right.
And so they felt, extension doesn't just throw money out, because they don't, they're usually running on a tight budget. For them to say, we'll put up the extra money, the majority of it, the lion's share of it,
That's right.
that speaks highly.
They had 25 applicants and narrowed it down to 7 and then narrowed it down to her. And so it's definitely a coveted position. Mike Tripp's number 1 and 2 farm gate value every year. So, Commissioner Dawson.
I'm just curious on the request of the additional money, does that put it in line with what the expectations are for other counties our size?
That's
I'm just trying to make sure that.
That's what we're told. That's what they're trying to do. Madison County, like Tripp said, he is right. Madison County is more important to UGA with our agricultural background, what we do here, that kind of stuff. So it is a place that they need her here too, obviously with the money. But yes, it would be kind of in par with, I think she was actually making where she was.
But for that position, will be the appropriate marketplace.
That's what, yes, sir. That's what I understand. Is anything else, guys? All right, all we need is a vote. It goes to Mr.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Any executive session? I'm sorry. No? All right, just need a motion to adjourn. Motion second. Commissioner Kirk?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Thank you, everybody, for coming. Have a safe trip home.